Fox's Brian Kilmeade loathes migrants. I mean, he can't stomach them, which is no secret, of course. But his recent comments are really something new and extra vile. Here's what he had to say. Brian.
I also think it's not practical to think that we can do due process on 8 million people.
No,
there's 22 million people here, and minimum illegal already just in the last 3 administrations. And there's some people that got through with Trump's administration. If we're going to give these guys a day in court and a lawyer, we can't do it. They don't deserve it.
They don't deserve it. Only guys who look like Kilmeade, in his view, probably deserve it. Okay. They don't deserve it. Let me ask him why, because I thought conservatives valued our God-given rights above all else. Isn't that what they usually say? Well, it's not good news that cable news personalities are so comfortable commenting on the inconvenience of people having rights. There are positive developments in this story because the judges who are being threatened and attacked and called out and, impeachment held over their head, they're holding strong, okay? U.S. District Court Judge James Boasberg declined to lift a restraining order barring the Trump administration from using the Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelans, determining migrants are likely to succeed in pushing for hearings on whether they are in a gang. That reporting from The Hill. Now, Boasberg also noted President Trump's unprecedented use of the act outside of the typical wartime context in signing the order. Here's what he said. The order comes amid a separate legal battle in the case to determine whether the Trump administration violated a court order from Boasberg directing any flights taking the migrants to a Salvadoran prison be halted or turned around. The government is not being terribly cooperative at this point, but I will get to the bottom of whether they violated my order, who ordered this, and what the consequences will be, Boasberg said. Now, he said the roughly 260 Venezuelans brought to El Salvador under both the Alien Enemies Act and through immigration authorities were not informed where they were being taken and did not have an opportunity to raise Convention Against Torture claims. In that case regarding the alleged gang members, and we do allege, okay, there's no information, okay, if these were actual gang members, just willy-nilly, something about tattoos. DC Circuit of the US Court of Appeals heard arguments yesterday. Judge Patricia Millett, now I like her, I listened to these arguments. Okay, they were strong. And again, Adrienne, I'm not an attorney, but I kept thinking about people like you. I would not want to, I always thought I'd love to play an attorney on television, but just play. I don't need someone like Judge Millett pushing back the way she did on this government attorney. I thought, who let the intern, the law clerk, argue in front of this appellate court? Because this is not going so well. And I want you to weigh in, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about what Judge Millett said. There were plane loads of people. There were no procedures in place to notify people. Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemies Act. Wow. Judge Millett noted that alleged Nazis were given hearing boards. They were subject to established regulations, while the alleged members of the Tren de Aragua were given no such rights. ABC News with the reporting. She also poked a hole, more like you drove a truck through this thing, this idea that the courts have no power to block Trump here. Quoting her, I think the intrusion upon the war powers and foreign policy powers of the president is utterly unprecedented. Deputy Assistant Attorney General Drew Ensign argued. Well, this is an unprecedented action as well, Millett responded. So of course, there's no precedent for it because no president has ever used this statute this way, which isn't to say one way or the other if it can be done, but simply to say we are in unprecedented territory. I read that, listened to that to mean we've never had somebody like this doing this kind of thing. And honestly, Adrienne, I wouldn't want to be the attorney. I might want to be the judge now. I might want to play a judge because she let them have it. What did you hear?
I agree. She really did read them the riot act, because the thing is that we all will go to law school, and anybody in that courtroom that is an officiant of any kind or jurist went to an ABA accredited law school. So we all got an education on the Constitution, how statutes work, also how the president, the branches are supposed to work. And so to have this individual who is leading the executive branch completely and totally demolish the rule of law, act as though it's optional, if not an inconvenience, is something that is completely and totally flabbergasting. And the judge is absolutely right to draw the line. And anyone who says that they are there to uphold the Constitution should be drawing the line. I don't even know how that deputy attorney general was willing to make that argument, knowing that it completely undermines the rule of law. And it's very scary who's willing to continue to enforce the practices of Donald J. Trump.
You think maybe they drew straws? I don't know how that works. I'm sure someone like you in the office would say, I can't, I'm good, but I'm not that good. I'm not trying to go up there and look crazy. Do you think I should go to law school? My attention span's not good.
I think you would do excellent law school. And I just talked to someone who is in their 50s and asked if it was good to go. And I said, hell yeah.
You're not suggesting I'm in my 50s, are you?
Maybe. No, there was like a 60-year-old woman in my law school class. There is never too late to learn how our system operates.
And from what you see and observe of me, you think I have a shot at it?
Oh, you would have an absolute blast. And especially when, everybody kind of wishes they went when they were older, because you have appreciation for the world and how it works.
Right.
You do better.
Wow. Okay, maybe I'll consider it. Maybe. We'll move on to this one. The Court of Public Oblivion is what we have to call it, okay? It's just that simple, okay? Donald Trump is running to his allies in the Supreme Court, okay? There was the one who had the upside down flag. Which one was that? The one who likes to travel the country in a Winnebago that he didn't purchase too. That's when you talk about allies, that's who I'm thinking of. He wants permission to overrule the judge blocking his terminations of 16,000 federal employees. This is in response to a federal judge blocking the blanket termination of those nearly 20,000 probationary employees. How is this helping us? One of those employees might have said, don't use Signal for war planes. Maybe they would have said that. You don't want to talk about war plans over Signal. I don't know. Here are the details on why the judge blocked Trump issuing a preliminary injunction. Judge William H. Alsup of the Northern District of California acknowledged that each federal agency has the statutory authority to hire and fire its employees, even at scale, subject to certain safeguards. Okay. But he wrote that the agency that he said had coordinated the terminations, the Office of Personnel Management, had no authority to hire and fire employees in other agencies. New York Times filling in the reporting. Additional reasoning. Alsup also said the administration attempted to circumvent federal laws on reducing the workforce by attributing the firings to performance, when that was not in fact the case. Judge called the move a gimmick. Sad day when our government would fire some good employee and say it was based on performance when they know good and well that's a lie. I mean, it's like the judge, it's like this could be Real Housewives. This judge is just reading them. It's not even trying to follow along with their argument. His reinstatement order applied to probationary workers fired from the Pentagon, the Treasury, Agriculture, Energy, Veterans Affairs, Interior Departments. A divided panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit declined to pause Judge Alsup's order while the government pursued an appeal. Trump's acting Solicitor General, Sarah Harris, had this to say with the appeal. The lower court should not be allowed to transform themselves into all-purpose overseers of executive branch hiring, firing, contradicting, and policy making. Only this court can end the inter-branch power grab. I mean, there's a power. I don't think she should have used those words, power grab, with everything swirling around this administration, but oh well. She said courts, plural, here's why. Different judge, James K. Breeder of the Federal District Court in Maryland this month also ordered the administration to reinstate federal workers in a case there brought by 19 states and the District of Columbia. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals declined to pause that temporary order. Acting Solicitor General Harris explains the difference between the two judges' orders. Ms. Harris, the administration's lawyer, told the justices that the rulings from California and Maryland overlap, but were not identical. In any event, she wrote, the Maryland order lets the administration put reinstated workers on administrative leave, meaning that the California order inflicts additional practical and administrative burdens. It's probably an impossible question. Okay, you're a great lawyer, and I want to know your prediction for the highest court in the land and what the outcome will be. But when you have certain players on this court, I mean, maybe we won't know. But the other thing that jumps out at me here is, and we've all worked in corporate America where they try to make up lies about people, okay? And then say, oh, bad performance is why we got rid of her, okay? And it's just not, you're just not past the giggle test. I keep accurate notes. Might record you too if I feel like it. If I have to, Adrienne, I know wouldn't advise me to do this all the time as a lawyer, but sometimes these things you gotta say, oh, are you gonna try to run this on me? You wanna run game or you wanna be honest? Okay, I know you know, okay? But in this case, the judge is saying, some of these people had great performance reviews and now you're saying, you're out of here. You're no good at your job. As an attorney, isn't this like basic stuff? When people hire you, I don't even know if you would take the case. You'd say, well, you just laid it out right here. This is foolishness.
And it is absolutely nonsensical. And the thing is my hat is off to these judges who are standing up and saying this is unjust and we're not going to allow this to happen. And there is law that counters what is this administration is trying to do. I really appreciate them. And as the Trump administration tries to appeal these rulings, you are going to see the circuit courts say no and allow these people to return to work. And then when it eventually goes to the US Supreme Court, I would not be surprised if the Supreme Court says we're not going to hear the issue. And that's how they punt on it, in large part because it seems that the court's real interest in terms of the conservative majority is to make sways that change society's material fabric, whether that would be our rights to access or determine what happens to our bodies or to access contraceptions. Things like that is what the conservative right on the Supreme Court seems to be foaming at the mouth, awaiting, not necessarily whether people should be able to continue to stay employed when they were doing a good job. So I don't necessarily see this working out great for Trump at the end of the day, but at the same time, I do have to be honest in saying, hey, are we really in a real kind of world right now, or is this just some kind of dystopian distance?
I mean, it depends. You know, if he and Melania had dinner with Ginny Thomas and Clarence, or I think last time, didn't they? He had a call or something with Clarence Thomas, and it wasn't about the case or anything, okay? They just happened to connect. We got it.